Hello and welcome to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Ben.
And I'm Chris.
And thank you for joining us. We have a special guest. You may have heard him all the way.
Backed by popular demand even.
Backed by popular demand. You might have heard of the man from Victoria, the man himself. Swizz, how are you, mate?
I'm great, boys. How are you guys going?
Wonderful. You know what, mate? You seem to be like the itch we can't shake. Everyone keeps asking for you.
They're like, let's get someone on the show that actually knows what they're talking about. And I was like, fair call.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're only one coleslaw away from replacing Chris as my number one. So, but look, let's get into it. Before we move on, let's hit everyone on the socials. It is SC Insider 100. You can find us on all your major audio platforms, including Spotify, SoundCloud, Twitch, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iTunes, you name it, and on YouTube, Chris.
Yeah, we'll be on the YouTube. Just search for Supercoach Insider. Pretty easy stuff, guys. We don't know what we're going to do with this video and audio recording, obviously. We are doing it separately because we are in lockdown as of about 3.5 hours ago up in Brizzy.
Yeah, bum. Although, can I just say, we did say it was a bit dramatic, right? We're not the government. We don't have probes up in the sky and elsewhere. It seemed a little bit over the top to start with. However, as you can see, shit's got real and we are now in lockdown. So 3 days. Why couldn't this happen on the weekend, Chris? I would love to have 3 days at home, forced to watch footy, saying, well, there's nothing else on.
That's pretty much what I did anyway, so a self-isolation. It was fantastic.
Jeez, how's that right for him? Swizz, any recommendations on how to get through a lockdown from the man from Victoria himself?
Well, firstly, don't go out and buy all the toilet paper from your local shop.
Oh, too late.
No, unfortunately, guys, you've copped in on weekend, so it's there's no footy and beers, so maybe just chill out with some old replays. Don't try to change your Supercoach team too much, and I'm sure you'll get through this.
That's dangerous.
Advice,
3 days off coming into Lockie Neal on a Thursday night will be interesting, but. Look, this is the structure for the segment today is we're going to discuss, and there's some hot topics. We've also had a lot of questions on the line. We're going to be talking how we went for the round, looking at rookies and cash cows. Then we're going to talk about Neal, the big question, what to do with Lockie motherfucking Neal. And we're going to then also cover our breakouts and premiums, people who will be top six that you might not have considered already, and cover other people like your Texas, your MPs, all throughout this whole podcast. So, yeah, that's pretty much what we got on our agenda today.
Yeah, it's actually probably, I reckon, arguably going to be our most listened to podcast for the season. This is probably the one that you want to catch. So people want to know what trades they have to make, if they have to make any. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's start off with...
Just so you know, I'm actually on the gin tonight, lads. I'm on a Hendrix floral gin because I like it just a little bit gay. Just a little bit gay. It's fine.
Hey, once a year doesn't make you a queer, Chris.
Chris, you just make enough for me, mate, because I've just come back from a big dinner with all of my career club mates, so you need to work off double tonight, mate.
And quick shout out to any of your friends there, Chris. Swizz.
Nah, they've all gone.
Okay, they've taken his early advice and gone for a run with it. All right, Chris, let's start off. How did you go for the round? What did you score? What changes did you make going into the round last week?
Yeah, look, I obviously had the one force change with Danger, and I went into the round like that, and then I got a little bit drunk, and I was at the I was actually at the rugby league, just another 30,000 people in a lockdown weekend, and halfway through the game, I was chatting to you guys in a group chat, and we realised that with what was going on, if I wanted to do the trades that I needed to do, I would have to trade Jordan in this a week early. So I actually went early last week and made a rookie correction trade and got James Jordan in last week to allow me to do my trades this week. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have him on field, but that was probably the wiser decision to try and get him on field. I didn't do that. I still managed to go all right. Unfortunately, I went into the last game of the round. I was 23-03 with Taranto to play, and then Taranto decided to be the biggest spud of all time and give me 67 points. It was really great. So I ended on 23-70, which was pretty good. Wasn't bad at all. For the round, I ranked 825 for the week, and I pushed my season rank up to 7,579. So Yeah, decent score. Hero, of course, probably gone. Coming back after having a really poor round one, came out and dominated. I'd say Taranto was definitely my villain. He was really the only one that really underperformed. Everyone else, I was pretty comfortable with. So, yeah. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, so for me, I scored 2,306. My hero, my man Impy. The fucking Imp. I went Impy over Dow. I don't even know why. I went Impy over Danaher.
Because you listened to me for once in your life.
For once in my life.
Freaking life.
And as you can tell, I was an Impy owner by the amount I raged in their first game. I'll get into the Impy on what I noticed in that last when we get into him a little bit later on. But I also went early on Jordan, more because Neil had a bit of a stinker. And I was like, okay, well, I know I need Jordan. If I'm going to make any moves next week, do I want to go early on him? And the problem I had was I had Berry as a loophole for that, so I needed him to go 69 or more. And Jordan went better than a meal for two. He actually got me more points this week, so I am extremely happy there. 2306, my overall ranking is...
Just slightly ahead of me at this stage.
Yeah, and actually our community team, the one that we're versing everyone with, it's SC Insider Munity, because they don't let you write community, so we wrote Munity. We are actually ranked 6,335. We don't have Caldwell.
Me.
So, yeah.
And what about you, Swizz? How'd you go this week, mate?
22.59 this week, but that still put me up to 3,819 overall.
Nice.
So that ranking's good, but just unfortunately this week, couple of little things. Naturally, Rowe, but most people had him on, but I was tossing up between him and Brockman. I didn't go early on Jordan. The only trade I made was Dangerfield out for Walsh. All week I tossed up between Brayshaw and Walsh. I think Walsh still over the season will probably average more, but it was one of those, 50-50 decisions and probably cost me, what did it cost me in the end, 30 points. My hero of the week is Jordan Ridley. Big on him on pre-season, and also because, for those who know, my wife is a massive Essendon fan, and I just needed something to cheer for when I go and watch games with her.
Hey, mate, does she try and inject you while you sleep, or is that just a trait inside the club, or does it continue outside the club?
Everybody's doing it.
I'll go no comment on that one.
For those playing along at home, that was a pegging joke. Look, speaking of heartbreak.
There's the tackle. Did he handball it? No. That's as clean a tackle as you can get for a free kick.
That was bad. That was really bad.
That's all we're going to talk about, Brisbane.
I mean, look, here's the thing. It wasn't just that. There were some stinkers, unfortunately, that Brisbane were on the end of. And I know that Geelong fans will say there was bad decisions both ways, and there is, but there wasn't that costed direct goals. I mean, even if you take like Joel Selwood's the free kick for Dane Zorko on Joel Selwood. Now, probably there, but if you watch the footage, he 100% ducks into it, which in classic Selwood fashion. And that's why Zorko is upset with that in the first place and remonstrated. Now, he should have done that. As captain of the football club, he definitely should have done that, and it cost them a goal as well.
Oh, but what about the 360 throw by your mate Guthrie? What a flog.
You mean bet winner Guthrie? Well,
speaking of which, if someone hasn't seen my socials, I went and finally bought some of the AFL cards. Some of the really pristine AFL cards, and they are what are they called? Footy Stars. All right, and wouldn't you know it, my fucking luck, I get like a Guthrie memorabilia one and a Guthrie card on his own. And seriously, I don't know if you can see this, right?
That looks awesome. Look at that hair, it's glorious.
And one of the match winner ones. Now, what? I should rip this up right in front of you, Chris. Fuck you.
You know what? If you look closer, you can see him throwing the ball to Joel Selwood on the wing. That was another joke when he just clearly receives a throw from out of Joel Selwood, another goal assist. Like, dude, they just got the huge rub of the green, and unfortunately. But on the plus side, he is now what's this? Forward? Is it 37 points per game? Average more than McCluggage?
Look,
I mean, just a few.
Just call him Petrarca and call bloody McCluggage Devon Smith. All right, before we get into these rookies, quick little shout. I'm going the Goats for number one. That's my beverage number one of choice. And the second one is I'm going to spice it up for a 3-day lockdown. Brookvale Union, the ginger beer from our friends in New South Wales. Alcoholic ginger beer, can't deny. All right, let's go starting off then.
Oh,
on these.
Ben, I'll get on that, mate. On that, I don't drink beer, but that is the one beer I will drink. It's fantastic.
And
go out and get yourself a 6-pack for the lockdown.
Well, I just went and got a carton, so
fantastic.
And a little tip for our friends at home: you put a shot of Sailor Jerry's in there with a bit of lime, and then add your alcoholic ginger beer on top of it, and you've got a 2-standard drink. Perfect.
Wow, I love it. Ben's like, oh, how do you be more alcoholic?
Yeah, I brush my teeth with a bit of vodka. Okay, speaking of these rookies, now let's go through some of the well performers followed by the low end, and then I'll get Chris and Swizz's opinion as to who's the must-have. And I think there's a lot, to be honest. So Highmore, 77. Golden got a 136, absolute effing jet, obviously. Jordan, 82. Powell, 75. Berry, 69. Brockman, 77. Flynn, 78. Impey, 123. Are we going to put the rookies in with this cash cowness? Or?
Yep.
That's right, man.
Zeeble, 72 with a rolled ankle. Warner, 94. Campbell, 118. And on the crappy end, right, you have Sharp, 20. Cozzy, 38. Braun, 32. Scott, 23. Rowe, 19. Paddy Dow, 53, that fucking muppet. Zach Williams, the butcher, we'll get to later. He's not a rookie, but fuck him for a 78 anyway. And Jones from Essendon got a 5. I don't know how you can get anything less than a Henry, but he seemed to with a 5. Cox, 42, and Lazaro actually impressed with a 50 for a guy who was sub in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, one squeeze at the break evens will tell you pretty much all you need to know. And I think we've all been absolutely surprised with the ridiculous gameplay of Errol Golden. I mean, like, where did that come from? And he backs it up the next week. So I think he's obviously the number one because he's got a break even of negative 206. He's set to make a ridiculous amount of cash in the first couple of weeks. So if you don't have him, he is an actual must have. I can't consider. There is a lot of guys that you should get. Not many of them are must-haves, but I would also consider Chad Warner a definite must-have. And I'd probably go. I don't think Jordan's necessarily must-have, but I think he's right up. I mean, he's got a break-even of negative 87. If you don't have Matt Flynn, you probably should, but I don't know if anyone doesn't have Matt Flynn. That would be a very, very strange selection.
Well, I'm like 52%.
So 52% is he at?
Only 52% for Flynn at the moment.
Wow, which is that's strange. I mean, so that must mean that a lot of people are still running, say, a loophole at R3, like a Tracy or someone like that.
Yeah, or Meek and all the others at R3.
Yeah, well, I think Matty Flynn. I mean, look, if you've got Meek, I mean, Meek's break even is not too bad. What's his break even at anyway? It's at negative 52. So
yeah, he had a pretty good game.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually quite impressed with the way that him and Darcy played together. I mean, they actually towered GWS. That was a mauling. That should have been 15, 20 goals. That was a drubbing. So yeah, it would be interesting to see. One thing I noticed last week is obviously the Hawthorn defenders absolutely just racked up the pill against Richmond. It's like they didn't even care that the defenders were just
Do you know why,
kicking the ball left and right and left and right.
It was completely, they went into a defensive mindset with uncontested ball, and Richmond kind of just hung off them, and that's why Hawthorn just racked up the ball, because they were playing more just real defensively, and they were just trying to get that uncontested. It was stacked for uncontested possessions.
Well,
it was one of those
at the games too, weren't you?
Yeah, it's one of those classic games where the higher team got 4 or 5 goals up early, and sort of Hawthorn's gone into a bit of damage control, played a bit of keepings off, tried to get some possessions and that. And Richmond, like it was shown last year against the Swans and a couple other times, we're happy just to do that, play, just play possession footy and keep the margin the same all day.
Yeah, bruise free too. You don't hurt any one of your own players. You don't have to bust out. It's like, cool, you want to do this? We'll just wait for you to fuck up one of your kicks. We'll take it, kick a goal, and then we'll just keep chipping away.
It's frustrating to watch as a fan, I'll tell you that, but you get the 4 points and just you move on.
That's it. Well, one thing I have noticed is that the running defenders against Richmond are just running right. So in the Amy game, Crisp and Maynard absolutely tore it up, as well as Howe. In the round 1, it was Sard and Doherty that went well.
Well, Maynard went so well in the first Amy game in the first week. He took this week off. Bloody Maynard.
He did. I think I was like 47. But yeah, obviously, Impey and Giath went absolutely huge this week, as well as Blake Hardwick, who had like 27 kicks or something stupid. And now you've got the Swans coming into play Richmond this week. So Braden Campbell, for example, if you don't have him, I'd be getting him this week.
Braden's a lock of all those rookies and that, because he's just him and Lloyd are just going to chip it to each other all day long.
And he's a good kick too. That's just crazy.
He's so good.
The amount of scoring on that, and yeah, I'm just being blown away of the scoring potential, because here I was a little bit worried. I still mostly went guns and rookies, and I was a little bit concerned. But my God, if you actually spread your team out with all these mid prices, you are looking at all these rookies on your bench or not at all, going, fuck me, where did I go wrong?
Yeah. What do you think about Impey as a must-have? Because he's only in 13% of teams. He absolutely cleaned up. Both games he has played well. He's only 200K. Most people have Dow. Is it worth the one trade?
So I'll go first and then Swizz. Now, here's my concern, right? Dow, if Dow chips away, and they'll have an easy run soon, Dow's definitely capable of knocking out a couple good scores if he doesn't get dropped. If Dow manages to scrape his way to a 300, right, you are kind of then relying, if you sideways to an Impey for not much gain at all, you're actually losing 10 grand. You really need Impey to kind of get you to like 400. You need to Impey to at least beat Dow by 100 or more, and that's on the minimum. Realistically, I just don't see the point going sideways unless he's going to make that much cash. And I'm not sure he's
what
going
do you
to.
reckon?
No, I agree. I agree about the Impey move and that. That's one of those things. Richmond, as we've already talked about, we just give so many points to Backman. So that's probably his one big game. Geelong's going to be a different kettle of fish this week. He's going to probably have to play more one-on-one footy. They're not going to give the freedom to the back. So all of a sudden, you could be looking at Impey having like sort of 50 game, and within 2 weeks, that big 130, something like that, it's out of his score. So you're going to lose that cash generation out of him.
Well, the good thing is it was the second round that he went big instead of the first, which means it stays in a little bit longer, which is good. Apparently, Impey actually offered to go one-on-one with Rowan in the car park, but he declined.
That didn't happen.
What do you mean? I sent an email, Chris. Don't you know my famous email?
Okay. Okay.
All right. So, touching on rookie still now, Berry got he got a meal for two this week. He did pretty well last week. I think he would have get about 58. He was on track to go even higher last week. I actually see him as a pivotal side in that Crows because he's laying so many tackles. He is putting on a lot of heat.
His pressure on the ball is fantastic.
It's
really
huge.
is.
And I think it's underrated. He is getting quite a few points because of that tackling, and I think it's helping the rest of the team kind of gel. So I think there is a spot for him. I honestly believe that at this point now, I don't say he's a must-have, but if you're looking for that one person in your team's looking pretty set, then I definitely don't mind bringing him in at all.
The thing I really like about him is because of his tackling, he's got a really high floor, and it's only going to take a little bit for him to pop 100. Like if he maintains with an 8 tackle average, all he really needs is 15 possessions, and bang, he's got 100 under his belt. So I really like Berry. I think that he's a great bench selection. Definitely someone that you can play him on field. I played him on field last week, and I was very fine with that. But if he gets pushed to your bench, he's completely fine to cover you. You can loophole him, later on, and I think he'll make quite a bit of cash. And his basement price. I mean, how many of these guys are basement other than say a Golden that is just ridiculous, and we should keep talking about him.
Yeah, and with Berry as well, I think he was on 47 and 49 at halftime for both games. He was near the 50 mark, and then I think as the game went on, maybe he played less time on ground the second half, or maybe he just started to get a bit fatigued. But give him a few more games, and he's definitely someone who could improve. And you're right, a little bit of luck goes your way. You hit a disposal instead of missing one. Next minute, it's in a chain for scoring, and he knocks out an 80. His capacity to go 80 plus will actually help his scoring.
And with Berry, so the next 3 weeks, if he keeps up the score of around 59, 60, he's going to go up 130K over the 3 weeks. And they play the Suns at home, North away, and then Freo at home. So there's some games there where he should get some midfield time and hopefully at least keep that average, if not go better.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't think he's an absolute must-have, but if you have a problem in your team and you've got all the other rookies, he's definitely not bad. So I would say that he's one that's going to make enough cash to be worth it, to be worth the trade. I mean, if you've got, say, a Scott, and unfortunately, I don't think Scott will hold his position this week. You'd do a lot worse than going to Berry. So I do think that he's definitely one that you can have in that realm of being almost worth using that trade for. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's I think most people do have him though. Not many people that I don't think. Well, how many percentage teams is he in at the moment? Let's have a look here.
Berry. Mr. Berry. He is.
This pause brought to you by Brockvale Union.
21% of teams. Wow, so he's not in a lot of teams.
He was kind of a bit of a surprise on that late, not late in, but he was sort of a last minute call up. So, but yeah, even with Crouch, I believe he still plays in that side. I think he's really contributing. So
I mean, even Warner's only in 25% of teams. Like Warner hit a 94 and he looks good. Like he hits that ball hard. There was a moment where he was running full steam, balls bounced over his head by Braden Campbell, kicked it over the top for him to run onto it. And he's running on. He just grabs it literally full pelt and just goes hell for leather straight into an opposition player and knocks him over and just gets up, bounces up and does it all again. Yeah. He just goes hard.
Well, now you can see what Horse was talking about at training. Was it 2020? How they actually had to pull him aside and tell him to, hey, mate, this is training. We don't want to hurt our players. But in a game, they just fucking go for it. Line someone up, mate. Hit him as hard as you can. And he's just a pit bull. I do like him as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Barry's the sort of one, if you're looking maybe at Tanner Bruin, you could possibly go down, make it 40K there, and then you're probably going to get a lot more cash generation over the next 3 to 4 weeks.
How frustrating is Bruin though? I mean, looks like Tarzan, kicks like Jane. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's. I don't even necessarily think. I actually think he's played all right.
Me
it's
too.
Just
but
he suck.
Yeah, they do, and he's just not. He's gotten close to goals, and then just is it unlucky, or he just doesn't know how to like self-organize his hand to his foot and fucking miss. And a couple times, and then he like dives on, and then like fumble, and then handballs it out to like no one. I was like, pick it up and kick a fucking goal. It's one of those things, and he's someone who could actually kind of go down to a McNeil if he gets played and, actually kind of looked all right. So you could bank 55K, but he's an awkward price, 157K for Bruin.
And the way the Giants are playing at the moment and that, there's no sort of guarantees he's going to see a lot of ball downfield. There's going to be it's just a really weird team at the moment and that, like, with all the talent on the park, they, we expect them to be one of the, top contenders in the league, but they've played an undermanned St Kilda and Freo and look terrible. So
they look bad. Like, honestly, Freo made them look second rate yesterday. Absolute second rate. A bunch of kids. That Freo midfield ran over the top of the GWS midfield. And I don't care. That midfield still had Josh Kelly. It still had Callan Ward. It still had Taranto. They should have at least drawn even.
Get me started. Josh Kelly was playing like forward of a centre square, running in after the contest. He's one of their best players inside and out, and they're playing him on the wing and out of the fucking forward line, running into the centre square after the bounce. They had Hopper, Cornelio, De Boer fucking butchering the ball. No wonder they were shit in contested ball. No wonder they were shit going forward. No wonder those players scored shit. Josh Kelly wasn't even involved that much, and he started off well the last 2 weeks.
Wow, he really doesn't like this quiz.
And then he tapered off. He was on like 85 in like the fourth quarter or near the third quarter both weeks, and then just does nothing in the last quarter. Josh Kelly just like, fuck it. I just won't play quarter 4.
Ben, tell us what you really think about the Giants.
Yeah, fucking.
Tell us how you really feel.
And he's like, can I even get rid of Josh Kelly, or is that the risk you kind of just take knowing you'll go a 171 week and I have to keep the fucker?
The problem you've got, like with Bruin and any of the Giants right now, is Cameron showed last year he's happy to drop the captain. So he dropped Tom Green this week, who knows what the fuck he was thinking. Like, don't worry about going full Dev. It's full Cameron now.
Actually, I found out, Swizz, he woke up and realised he didn't like Rangers.
I actually didn't mind the Tom Green dropping, but mainly because, and it was, you could see it clear as day at the game, GWS just are one-pace midfield. And you add Tom Green, who's another one-pace midfielder, they got done for pace. on the day. They got overrun by pace, and they were beaten on the inside and then smashed on the spread. Absolutely mauled. So I can understand why they didn't want another big in and under midfielder in that mix. I think they play. Who they play this week? Is it Melbourne?
Melbourne.
That's going to be a much better matchup for them in terms of their midfield versus midfield. Both contested guys.
Lockie Whitfield's the most important player of that team, and that loss of him for the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks is they could be 0-6, 0-8. Yeah, by the time he gets back and season's over, because they just miss him so much.
He provides all that dash and everything.
0-6, eh? And 0-8.
0-8. Jeez, Owen, that's the old Fremantle days. I agree with you there. And I think the thing with the one pace that you're saying is that when they were beaten on the inside, then they got the ball out, and then the midfielders that were trying to... It was like you put your left hand in, you put your left hand out. So they're going in, getting it outside, and then they were just chasing their opponents all fucking day.
The only person who looked like doing anything was Toby Green, literally all day.
He did it late, Toby. And
Isaac Cumming played well, but, he got a lot of free possessions because he took all the kickouts. And they had 20... They kicked 20 behinds. So his scores just got massively inflated from the amount of kickouts he had.
I just realised I have ducking activated. So when you try and talk and I'm talking, your audio gets cut to shit.
Shut up.
My last thing about Bruin is, there's a possibility they drop him or they make big changes this week. The Giants play the Sunday night game this week, and that. So if you were going to move on him, and that all your options are out the door for a trade. So it's one of those things. If you're going to trade him, you've got to go early. Otherwise, you could risk having him scoring a 0 this week.
Yeah, I do think he gets dropped too. Riccardi will be back this week and Hogan next week. So they were going to play Riccardi this week, but they wanted to give him an extra week just to make sure he was right. And as they've said the same about Hogan, they're going to give him another week, and then he'll be in next week as well. So, I can't see Bruin lasting past this week, especially when they've already got Daniels, who was serviceable, but he was a little bit off as well. That's already come back into the team. So, I think there'll be a little bit of a restructure in the forward line this week.
Yeah, I can't blame them. And having a look at that, you won't really know, and the only chance you have is it's the Port versus West Coast, Carlton, Freo, GWS, and Melbourne, and Geelong, and Hawks that you actually get to see. So you'll miss, trying to go sideways to down to a Warner. You'd miss that because the team will be announced later for GWS. So you kind of have to hit and hope for some of these, unless you're thinking of maybe Jordan and seeing if Braun gets named or not, and then you could always just go down if he's dropped. That's kind of your only option, eh?
Yeah, now one of the ones I want to chat about, just because he's amazing. Now, I don't think he's going to be a great Supercoach scorer immediately, but he's gone all right so far. Logan McDonald is way better, way earlier than I thought he would be. I don't know if you guys watched the Sydney game, but he was super impressive with the way that he can get up and back around the field. Super agile, marks on the wing, kicks it, then takes another mark on the half-forward flank and kicks a goal. He's very, very good, and you can see him and Buddy developing a really nice partnership over the coming years. So,
you know what I'm confused with is that North Melbourne have 50,000 fucking midfielders, and they had a chance to go and get a good forward after their only ranger forward left.
Don't talk to...
they passed.
I bring this up on the podcast, didn't I? I totally bring this up on the podcast. I don't know why they didn't go after Logan McDonald. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I love how North Melbourne supporters already this week defending themselves on Twitter going, you've got to judge this in 2-3 years. No, we can fucking judge this now because you guys don't have a key forward. You traded out your key forward, and then you've got another inside mid where you've got bloody 20 of them.
Jeez, this is as aggravated as I've ever seen Swizz.
I like Swizz. I like when he gets angry. He's an angry elf.
Call me an elf one more time. Hey, Chris, you speak about you saying that before on a podcast, but I guess I'll just have to take you and your word, number 2.
You will. Right. Yeah, no, that is 100% on North. They've got nothing. They have no legs to stand on there. But he's been absolutely fantastic. Now, unfortunately, at his price, even though he's scored quite well and he's averaging 69, I don't think that he's a must-have at 200K. So again, key forwards. There's every chance he comes out this week and drops a 20 or a 30. Holt's his cash gen.
he'll be playing against either a Bolter, a Grimes, and Asprey this week. However, the flip side, he does get Essendon's defence the week after.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, I tell you what, everyone's fallen over. Okay, so that pretty much
just held together by chewing gum at this point. So yeah, nice work.
I think that wraps up pretty much the rookie. That was quite in depth, I think, as far as.
There's still Tom Powell's. I think most people have him anyway, but he's that 75 will keep him in good stead for the next couple of weeks. Do I think he's a must-have at his price? I think his role, unfortunately, is in jeopardy because we're going to have Anderson and Cunnington coming back in. Does Anderson play on the weekend?
Anderson played. Cunnington's coming back in, and then the other one is Dumont. Yep.
Yeah, so I think he definitely plays, and they've actually already announced that Cunnington coming in won't impact Powell, so they want to keep getting games into him. However, he hasn't spent as much time in midfield as we'd all obviously wanted, which is obviously restricting his points and his cash. But I think he's going to go all right.
That helps his job security, though.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for the coach to come out and actually say that, obviously, which is great. You've got the ones that are guys that you can avoid. Guys like Anthony Scott. McNeil had a really good second half, but I don't think, again, he's not a must-have. Kaczynski, I think, will still just hover. He's going to be a slow burn on the sideline there. Bergman's probably one that you can probably get off if you really want to, if you go sideways.
Can I talk about Tyler Brockman for a moment?
Sure thing, go for it. You can interrupt us any time, Swizz. I do it all the time for Chris.
So Grimo and I were at the game and we were watching it, and we were talking about that's going to be one of the best 12-possession Supercoach games you'll ever see. I thought he actually did some good things, but I was shocked to see at the end he ended up on 77 because I felt like he just popped up at a couple moments, but the rest of the game I was like, where is this guy? And then I'm checking his Supercoach score and going, oh, how the hell did he score 77? But did kick a couple of nice goals, so he's an option. But yeah, once again, not a must-have.
I think he got those goals late, and in games against Richmond, because Richmond are a high Supercoach scoring team, you can get some scores out of nowhere when you just kick a couple of goals because they get more scaling because there's more pie against the Richmond side, which is just kind of how it happens. But yeah, I noticed that as well because I was really angry because obviously Brockman was the one that I actually traded out of to go to Jordan. So I'm like watching his game. I'm like, I think he was on like 25 or 30 most of the game. In the last quarter, he got 2 goals and a tackle. And it really impacted his score and boosted him to 77. So I think he's got great job security. He's kicked 4 goals over the 2 weeks. He's not going anywhere, and he's cemented into that side. So he's not bad. I just don't think he's a must-have.
And I want to touch on Sharpie he only got the 20 Supercoach. Now, underrated, I think, what he brings in that defensive line.
Right.
Yeah, well, here's the thing is I think defensively, right, so when he was manning the mark and you have to be stationary and still, people would try and play on around him, and then he would actually chase them and catch them early and put pressure on them. He was putting pressure left, right, and centre. Then they would hand it off, and he would chase someone else down. He put so much pressure on one guy that he went from like inside the back 50, chased his opponent, that person got off it, he chased that person again, put pressure on the kick, and then they butchered it. So I think he is definitely someone who, with his agility and speed and endurance, with the standing on the mark rule, he's actually putting a lot of pressure on anyone that's trying to come out of defence, which is actually pretty beneficial to the team. Now, you take that with a grain of salt because obviously they've lost 2 games. So is it really beneficial?
But Ben, the Lions are shit, so they're going 0-4, so he's probably going to keep his spot for a while.
Say what you like, but unlike Essendon, we actually have depth in our side.
Well, actually, one of the things that I noticed is the 4 people that they've got going down, they're not replacements for Sharp. Not one of them is. I can't see him getting dropped this week based on those 4 people that have flown down to Melbourne. So do you have the list of the guys?
Yeah, I took a screenshot. Now, it's interesting because I thought they'd bring in like Archie Smith, but he's not coming. So it's an interesting one. And even then, if I bring up the photo...
so it's Darcy Gardner, Reece Matheson, Marcus Adams and Connor Ballenden. They're all talls. There's no way Sharp gets dropped this week. Not a chance in hell.
Well, Matheson's not really that tall. Ballenden, he usually plays like key defense sort of or forward. I don't rate him in the ruck, and I can't see them rucking. I think they'll put Fullerton in the ruck if anything. He's a former, I think it was Brisbane Bullets. Now, why don't they keep talking about his basketball background? He actually played at the highest level in basketball, not just some fucking amateur league like Petrarca or Pendlebury. So he's tall and agile.
It was actually really good. But let's not talk about it like everyone does.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a bit of as you can see, there's a lot of rookies there. Find one that you've missed. If you have a non-playing loophole and you want to keep loopholing, sure. If you're all about that cash gen and there's someone, like what I did, I had a loophole and I was like, well, fuck it. I've got every rookie. I actually picked a lot of rookies and Jordan was the one I didn't have, so I got rid of Saunders, who was my loophole. I was like, fuck it, I want that money. So it's up to you as to what your structure is going to be like. If there's someone you feel like it's a must-have, then go there. If you have an injury or something or other, you probably want to fill that one first. So I don't know if I'm keen. Caldwell, you could easily go down to a rookie if you've missed someone important, like a Caldwell or something.
Interesting you say that, because I think that's probably leads into the old Tex Walker. So obviously Tex Walker now has a break even of negative 114 after two back-to-back, I think 143 and 145 or something, or 146.
It's ironic you say that, Chris. The last time Tex went negative 114 was in the grand final.
Oh,
you like that,
Jesus.
Love it, mate. Reminded me a lot of the Power Ranger power stance for that. Great time.
Power stance. Dude, that was hilarious. Power stance.
But very valid. Tex Walker is... he's definitely in consideration. Now, the funny thing for me is he went big. He's kicked 6 goals each week. Fair enough. He's not going to get that all the time, but the quicker ball movement's actually freeing it up. It's harder for defenders to actually man up someone like Tex. He gets on the move a lot. He can kick it from 50. He actually got, in his big score this week, he actually gave away a free kick and then moved on the mark and gave away a 50-metre penalty as well, which was minus 12.
In the first quarter. Yeah.
Which is huge. So,
look, he is right. I mean, the lead-up forwards is back in vogue. These rules are helping the lead-up forwards. The thing is, if you're getting him, you're not getting him as a keeper. He's 300K. You get him as a cash grab because he'll make you a quick 100K. Like, he'll probably make 100K next week.
Well, Bryce Mitchell, so I'll jump in. Bryce Mitchell said if he goes 80 the next 2 weeks, he will go up 125K in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For an 80.
Is it worth it for the cash grab? Can we get a consensus around the board?
I'm tempted. And the worst part is I know it's good for my team and good for my money, but then I look at him in my side and I'm like, what the fuck has this become?
This is
I'm the exact same. I'm like 90's the next 2 weeks and it's 140K and it's I hate the pick, but at the same time it's that whole, well, they've got the Suns at home. Suns are obviously have improved, but then it's North Melbourne at Marvel the week after, and God, the question is how many could he kick that week against the North Melbourne side that's just bleeding points.
And you know what this reminds me of? Jared Waite, like 3 years ago, he went on this 6-game absolute tear and made like ridiculous amounts of money and then dropped off a fucking cliff like you wouldn't believe. So you just got to make sure that if you get him, you get off him at the right time. And that's the key. So he's not a guy that you're going to get in as a top 6, top 10 forward. He's a guy that literally you're going to get in for the cash grab and get out as soon as possible.
And make sure you jump off, don't walk her off.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, sorry, Swizz, go for it.
No, that's one for. I know we had a couple of questions on Twitter to do with draft, and I know a mate a couple of years ago. Yeah, he was on the weight train and managed to find the fish in the league to trade him out to just at the right time.
It's like a poker table for sure. Yeah, go on.
It is. So Tex, if you somehow have Tex or you've picked him up off the waiver wire or whatever, yeah, hopefully he goes bang bang next couple of weeks, and then find that fish and offload him for a fallen premium.
I got him in 2 leagues. I actually put him in my waiver watch list, and he went big. And I was like, look, forwards were a scarcity. So I said, hey, if you're into spud farms, then grab Tex Walker. And I grabbed him twice just because I had like Paddy Dow as my F5. I was like, well, fuck, he can't be worse than that guy. So, yeah, I went and picked up Tex. And next time I'm like,
wants a forward, buddy.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, my God. I was like, Tex Walker. So I'll wait for that 5-game average of 120 and then offload him 100%. I am not riding him the whole way this year.
All right. So another guy I want to say the same thing about is Tom Hickey. Now, he's had 2 back-to-back good scores. But if you've got on someone like, say, a Riley O'Brien thinking that he's going to bust out from here, I think that you've probably got to cut your losses and you either got to go up if you can get the cash, or potentially you could go all the way down to Hickey if you've already got Flynn. So Flynn's probably number 1. You could go Meek.
Can I jump in? Right, I always thought, and I've always thought that Hickey sucks. And it turns out Hickey just sucks on the neck. That's it. Sorry. Flynn.
How long have you been running that one for?
I literally just thought of it. That's why I did interrupt before I forgot. Flynn.
So obviously if you don't have Matt Flynn, you just do that straight away. But someone like a Hickey you can see there, or a Meek, I mean, you could go all the way down. I'm still halfway on Meek. Like, he played well with Darcy last week. Does that mean that they pursue it next week, or do they just go with Darcy now? He's had a run and he's a little bit better, and they can play him as number one ruck. I'm not sure how that ends up really, but I mean, Meek did play very well this week. So
I'm not a fan of Meek at all there, Chris.
So you're saying Meek should reek?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I sure am. Yeah.
Look, I've got Flynn. I'm happy, so I don't really care. I don't care about Hunter. I don't care about Meek. Fuck them all. They're not my side.
Well, speaking of Hunter, rumour has it that Ryder's back this week, so he may not even get that third game. So he might be one that you have to correction trade out. And if so, obviously the obvious one's either Flynn or Meek, whichever one you missed.
Hunter has to go because he got towed up by Flynn, then had Max gone, and he was sharing the ruck with McKernan. Now, if you are able to handle your own as a solo ruck, they don't share your ruck duties with McKernan. Like, what an insult. Hey, by the way, you're finally playing our first league footy. You're our number one ruck. And by the way, we're going to give you 50-50 hit outs with McKernan.
The only way they look at playing Hunter this week is they go, we're playing Essendon. They're going to be without Draper. Their backup Phillips is apparently still coming back from injury, might not play. Ryan, their rookie's still injured. So they could be playing Peter Wright or go the whole Sean Grigg kind of route, and Hunter could actually do all right this week.
Yep. Speaking of draft pickups, Peter Wright this week could be a nice little get. He'll be playing solo ruck for a few weeks.
I actually thought that Devon Smith could probably play in the ruck because all he can really do is tackle and just handball to someone else who can kick.
I thought you were going to say Devon Smith can play in the ruck because he's always below expectations.
He's just playing where his height allows him to play, you know?
Oh, wow, that's a shortcoming.
So in stature.
It's a low blow shortcoming.
Now, there's a couple more I want to just touch on that have a little bit of relevance just because of their break-evens. Sam Swakowski, he's 279K as a forward. Now, he played fantastically this week, and he's actually played all right the week before. I just don't like the fact that he's a small forward, and so he's just likely to just drop a poor score. So for me, it's a no on Swakowski. As a cash grab, I mean, I know a lot of people have, say, Young that they want to try and sideways out of or whatever. I just don't advise it to be a small forward, personally. What do you think, Swizz?
No, that's a terrible. I wouldn't go near it.
I agree. And what do you think about Giath? You were at the game?
Yeah, no, CJ looked actually really good in that. Once again, and this is what I'm sure we're about to talk about Impey, but there's the two things about Hawthorn. Once again, we've talked about the Richmond, how they just leak points to the defenders. But what was the big key last year was the shortened quarters, and that's why we got such big high scores. For those who weren't at the game, wouldn't be aware, the last quarter went 24 minutes, and the siren's gone, and most of the fans in the ground were quite shocked because we're sitting there going, we think that there's got to be another 4 or 5 minutes to go, and we just thought because how boring some of the play was, the siren person fell asleep and must have just fallen on the button.
Well, what it's actually the mercy factor, because apparently when Clarko complains, they just changed the fucking rules. So what they did is he said, nah, that's enough, mate, mercy factor. And they said, you know what, you're Clarko, let's just change the fucking rules. You can end the quarter right here. Done.
Well, I'm worried about Giath. And the reason is, obviously, Scrimshaw was the sub, and he got subbed on. And I don't know what role he's going to be playing moving forward. I liked what I saw from Giath, but at the end of the day, he turned the ball over and cost direct goals. Now, I know that, he's trying to, be adventurous with his ball use. He's trying to make things happen and blah, blah, blah. He's just not there yet.
Are you saying his future is Scrim?
Could be, yes. I honestly don't know what his future holds in terms of his role in the team and in terms of what he's going to be able to produce Supercoach-wise. He's definitely not one that I would be trading to. If you have him, great. You got to kind of ride it out at this point and hope that he can maintain that role. But I definitely would not be trading to him. That's for sure.
No, not bad in a deep league.
He did some exciting stuff on the field, and he definitely, I thought, he could have a role there. But it's going to be so up and down, and the problem is, as you said, with Scrimshaw and possibly a couple of guys coming back, a couple of bad games or a few more turnovers like that, and he could find himself back out of the side again.
Yeah, I agree. And just lastly, another one that I just want to touch on briefly. Tom Atkins has played fantastic in his role. He hit a 107 this week, and he's averaging 95 over the 2 games.
What's his price?
He's 293.
Right, yeah, no, he as a forward, actually, I quite rated him in draft leagues as well. I thought his role looked great, and I think he's done that really serviceably. So, yeah, go on.
I just think that if you're at that mid-price stage in your team where you need to, like, let's say you got a Caldwell or someone like that, and you don't want to go to Tex because you want someone that's going to be a little bit more consistent with his scoring or have a better role, you could go a lot worse and go Tom Atkins. His role's fantastic. He's playing it really well. The problem is his job security, of course. So how solid is his job security in that Geelong 22? Right now, it's fantastic because he's performing, he's playing well. But at any time, who knows what Chris Scott's going to be able to do. It looks like he's competing with Jordan Clark, and Jordan Clark's played so well the first 2 weeks. His score didn't reflect that this week because he had a lot of frees against, and he had a 50 against as well. He actually was probably around the 85 to 90 mark, but just didn't quite. And there was that many free kicks and the 50 that it really impacted his overall score. So I would say they're trusting Clark, and he's potentially the 20th or 21st player in that team, and Atkins is definitely the 21st or 22nd, and that's a big thing when you're talking about job security.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. If for those on the YouTube, I've hopped up and grabbed myself another drink because once you started talking about Swakowski or whatever his name is, I'm thinking Monsters Inc. I didn't even know his fucking name. I was like, I need another drink. I just need another drink. So yeah, I hopped up and left and let these two boys go at it. All right,
last couple, just quickly. Obviously, we already touched on Tanner Brun.
Jeez, do you drag this out in bed, Chris? Because fucking.
I do actually. I'm a giver. What do we do with Danaher, guys? 39% of teams. Is he worth trading out, or are you keeping him?
Well, to credit to, and I'll give credit to my wife here, who is an Essendon person. She traded him out last week through loophole to Jordan, and that wasn't going to have any of that. And he actually did all right. But, I'd be trying to, if you don't have any of those rookies, I'd be going down to one of them and using the cash elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm with Swizz on this. The reason I didn't actually pick Danaher is they had some really good defenders to start the year. And I was just like, okay, I know he has a big ceiling, but I thought I was going to have to wait 6-7 rounds to actually start seeing the profit. So I actually went with the Impy, a cheaper version who I thought could get ball in the back half. If it's me, if I don't have, I'd rather bank nearly, not 100K, but it's probably about 90 odd K. I'd rather go Warner. That's 90,000 I could do with more. Warner's going to make more
absolutely.
Cash. Yeah, or Campbell. I'd go with one of those guys that I don't have. I'm not sure I'd go down to Impy. I feel like that's a bit of a waste. Going 20 grand, and again, is he going to make $150,000 more than Danaher? I don't see it.
No.
Probably not, but I think he makes it a lot quicker. I think that
is quicker better in a long season though? Like it's an iffy one. Like I'm not going to criticize anyone that does, but for me, I feel like you need to either, if he's going down, you're getting a rookie that you have missed, or you're looking elsewhere. I don't know. I just don't see the advantage in sidewaysing, someone who could at any week go big and make you a little bit of money. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you there, man?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
I was just saying that, look, it's 50-50 for me. Like I'm okay with someone doing the trade. I wouldn't say that it's a bad thing to do. I just wouldn't. I can understand the reasons you wouldn't do them, but I also like the idea of being able to jump off that rookie a little bit quicker, get that cash in a little bit quicker. You can, Impy could be the one that we can be trading in round 6, round 7, as opposed to waiting to round 9, round 10. So
it's like that song. Potential. Make money, make money.
Right. Well, it is exactly like that. So that's just one that Yeah, I think personally, I think you got to get off him if you've got a problem there. If you've got a Campbell or a Warner that you don't have, absolutely you're getting off him. Impey, questionable, but I don't mind it. I personally don't mind it.
Okay, we need to talk about Neil because otherwise it's not going to happen. Lockie Neal.
We skip Dow because he's probably someone that you just don't need.
Basically Dow you could just leave as a problem for another week if you like, or you can downgrade him to someone you don't have. Again, I'm not so sure I'm sold on sidewaysing to another $200,000. I'd go down and make the money if you think someone else will make money quicker, which I'm okay with.
Do we think he plays next week?
Yeah, I think he plays. I think he's been serviceable enough. He's just a butcher like most of their team, like Williams. Lockie Neal is our big issue. He's pretty much hit, around 75 2 weeks running. Got tagged. He got lucky and he scored, I think it was a 60-point half. So he did show that he is capable of scoring, just too late and at the end. So it's an interesting one, and this is probably one of the hottest debates. Now, I am on the fence. I'm on the fence because if he goes 120 the next couple of weeks, he only drops like 100K, and it's not on the worth train for me. But if Greenwood gets named, then the Dogs, what do? They have so many midfielders they could just back themselves in.
They have Libber as well, who has locked down before, so that is one option for the Dogs that they could do that.
And someone spoke about Teague not tagging as well, which I think is silly because I remember Lockie Neal tore up that first half against Cripps, and then he got locked down by Kernow, and then Cripps went 190 odd. Was that last year or the year before, Chris?
I don't know, but it was fantastic to watch.
Fuck you. Can we just also see? This is going to be a Neal and Cripps segment, so let's just hit this straight up on the back, Chris.
The Patrick Cripps that I saw 2 years ago is not the Patrick Cripps that I had last time I saw him. If I'm getting that guy, then he's number one.
And once again, Chris, you are wrong. Patrick Cripps for me, number one.
Nope.
Walsh had a small glimpse of victory when Cripps was pretty much...
Are you ready for a victory?
He was the walking wounded.
Are you ready for victory?
And I was fucking wrong. Chris, hate you. I am on the Walsh train. I don't care about the bet. Walsh is in my side. So we're going to pair this up we're going to hit Lockie Neal up, then we're going to talk about Cripps and what you've got if them. We've also heard some news today, which Chris will be touching on. So for me, I'm on the fence with Lockie Neal. Now, I'm inclined to keep him. Reason is I just like my structure a lot more. This is a dilemma I'm having because I have Caldwell. I could go Caldwell out, Lockie Neal out. I could bring in Ridley and Dusty Mutton, easy. And I still have cash in my bank because I've got cash already in the bank. Now I miss out on Tex Walker, but I've got 2 premiums for the price of 1. Lockie Neal can then drop down. I'm waiting for these other awesome rookies to float up and I can then replace Neal at a later time. Now, we have spoken and everyone's saying, if you get out Neal, it's a 2-trade waste. You're trading him out, you're trading him in, that's 2 trades. Now, luckily, my kind friends Swizz and Grimo have enlightened me that it's only a 1-trade deficit. Now, Swizz, are you inclined to describe that?
No. Well, it's a 1-trade depending on who you're going for too, and I guess it comes down to how much you value what you value a trade at. So it comes down what direction you want to go with this. For me, my options with Neal is looking at going naturally the next premium down, which is Oliver. So I'm going to have to get Oliver in anyway. Neal, my hope is he bottoms out, gets under 600, maybe even crashes to 550 if tagged. And I'm going to have to try to find the money to get Oliver in anyway. So it's not, I don't feel like I'm burning that extra trade because I'm going to get Neal at value coming back and I'm getting the premium that I missed.
Yep. So the consensus is that if you get out Lockie Neal and you bring in another premium, so if you bring in an Oliver and he's someone that you feel you need to get this year anyway, so you're already going to try and upgrade someone else to get to Clayton Oliver, that's that 1 trade. So if you trade out Neal to Oliver
rather than spending it later.
Yep, so it's not a 2-trade turnaround. You are burning the 1 trade. You then pick up Oliver now, and then if Neal drops in price and everything's looking good, you then upgrade someone else to Neal and you are using that trade that you would have used for Oliver. So you waste 1 trade. But if Neal drops 150K, then all of a sudden it becomes worth it because you can now have 2 premiums. Like I'm saying, if I am going to get rid of Neal, I can't see myself. I think I'd have to pass on Tex, even though I like Tex as an option for cash. I'd probably go 2 premiums just to make myself sleep at night.
Well, the only way, and I've heard a couple of people, and I actually had this message today, because I think at the moment we've got, I think 8% have jumped on Tex, and we've got 6% jumped off Neil. And some people have gone through loophole Neil down to Tex. Now I hate that because of you're losing the premium for starters, and it's such a big risk. But there's that back of my mind going, that's going to be, somebody's going to do it and it's going to pay off for it. Where
that guy's winning the round in 3 weeks.
Texas going to make 150, 200K. Neil somehow is going to lose 150, 200K. And you're going to use, as long as you're using that money for Neil to Tex to get, say, a Dow up to an Oliver or Danaher up to Oliver, you could be looking at going Tex to Neil for 100,000 in 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, I was about to say that's sick. Hey, like Tex gets to 450. And then you're buying Neil for 130.
550, something like that.
Yeah,
if it's really bad.
Even say 130, 580. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. And for me, Greenwood's going to be the
key. Is Neil still a premium, though? Because that's a big question, right? At this point,
I did say Brisbane is shit. So,
what I mean by that is if you think that from now, let's erase the first 2 rounds of the season. Let's talk about round 3 to round 23, right? There's 20 rounds left. What does Neil average between now and then? Has that changed from your... I
agree there, Chris. Because I'm looking at going, okay, we know, Bucks has pretty well said Greenwood a big chance of playing this week. So it gets tagged, and Collingwood's one of his worst teams to play at, and Marvel is one of his worst grounds to play at. So it's possible that 70, 80 this week isn't out of the question again. The Bulldogs at Ballarat, depending if they just want to go head-to-head, where he could score massive, versus if Liverpool plays lockdown that week, you could be looking at another sub-100 score. So already...
best midfielder this week was Tim Kelly, and he got 91.
Exactly.
Like the next one, so after Kelly, it was Sheed at 86, Gaff got 69, and Redden got 70. Like the team midfields are not scoring against the Dogs this year. They're just getting all the clearances. Everything's going their way. The only real way to defeat the Dogs at the moment is you need to hit them on the rebound. So you've got to turn the ball over at half back and kill them on the bounce. Now, I just can't see a world where Neil goes huge in that game. It could obviously happen, but to me, it's more about if I don't see him averaging 125 for the rest of the year, why the hell am I even contemplating having him at 720K? I may as well get rid of him, get him to, let's say Titch averages 115, which is definitely doable for the season. I'll get Titch for 110K. I've got the same output for 110K less, and then you can put that 110K into another premium upgrade. So I just feel like there's more to think about than just, I've got to hold your premiums, because we've got new information, and with new information, you've got to make different decisions.
Yeah, and I'll touch on that. So normally it's a never trade your premiums. But again, we're talking about a year last year, shortened quarters, midfielders, which we've already spoken about podcasts on numerous lengths, were inflated. They were overpriced, and we kind of went with people that we thought, had more stability. Now, it's not, so if it was a Josh Kelly, he's 600K for me, I'm holding. There's no point in me getting rid of Josh Kelly. I don't think he's going below 500.
You're not going to make any money anyway.
Correct, exactly. Now, we're talking about someone who's 720,000, the second highest price of anyone in the competition. And can we, if we get off, the higher they are, the quicker they fall, right? So same with tall people, right? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. So it's the Shane Mumford rule, except he denies every physics possible. So that's the only reason that's considering, is because he is the second most expensive person, right? He's been tagged, they're down, shortened preseason. Not only that, this week they actually have a short turnaround. They play Thursday as well, so they have an extra, like a less day break. And they're staying away from home because they didn't even know if they were going home for days, so it's been interrupted.
And they're staying in Melbourne for the next week against the Dogs. And that game's at Ballarat too, by the way.
Yep. So
with the balls falling around all over the place.
Yeah, and that's the consideration. Now, I don't mind holding him because I still think he's going to average you well later in the year. And we knew statistically, the first 4 rounds, he wasn't great against the opponents, and I was hoping that he would still do, serviceably. But that 150K on that and get someone else and going to a premium, You're still going to have the same amount of premiums on field. It's one of those ones. Now, the only thing that's sort of hurting me at the moment is I had Danger and Caldwell. That's 2 trades I've already had to make just to fix up.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, so do I have the luxury to burn a trade and risk it for the biscuit? Because it's just one of those things. But you can't play scared when you're going for overall. You need some luck, and you need to kind of go, right, where's the money at? And the money could be at going for other premiums. So, Dusty Martin's looking really good and really dangerous. He's getting in a lot of scoring change, fast ball movement. He looks like he could be a 106 plus forward, conservatively, for the year. Ridley, he's the only one. He reminds me of a Doherty back when Carlton was shit and they needed him and he went 115. Ridley scares me because they need him like Carlton needed Doherty. Ridley could be that one that really hurts you, and I don't have him in my side. Like the community side, we have him. I'm fucking laughing. Right, but...
Yeah, Ben, how you didn't listen to my advice for pre-season about Ridley?
I went Luke Ryan because I'm a nuffy, and I had Ridley in my side more than a dozen times.
And I said it to you over and over, Essendon are shit. He's their only decent defender. He is going to see so much ball.
Yeah. More ball than Mardi Gras.
I do agree with you, though. You're on to a point. At this point, it becomes team dependent. So, okay, let's say we go about the value of Neil. You can trade him, you cannot trade him. And let's say it's probably 50-50 depending on your team. But if you're in a situation like yourself or me where you've also got to trade Caldwell, you're either going up or you're going down. So if you can use that money to go up, then it becomes worth it because there are guys out there that are about to be untouchable. If you do not have Dunkley and if you do not have Ridley, I think you have to have them. Like you must. I don't think there's any way around it. Dusty's someone that I can understand you wanting, but probably not necessarily getting, because we know what Dusty's going to do, and he's probably going to drop at some point. He will get a hard tag, if not this week, then the following week, and he'll drop some low scores and go down in cash. But Dunkley, his role is there. We thought he was going to play more forward time. No, he's playing basically primarily midfield. Ridley is absolutely killing it. And if he's not number 1, he's going to be the number 2 or 3 defender this season. So those are 2 guys that I think that if you've got a chance to get them, you kind of need to take it right now. So,
or if you're just looking for Neil with, you're worried about, the possibility of losing points, that those Bulldogs players, we wanted to wait to see when we got a bit more data around them. And they're just sharing so much ball at the moment. Both weeks, I think they've had more than 100 touches than their opposition. And coming up, they've got North Melbourne, which this could be one of the big hidings. Yep. And unfortunately, it's a good Friday match. They got Brisbane up at Mars, and they just love playing at Ballarat. They get the Suns back at Marvel. They play the Giants up at Marnica, and the Giants could be still terrible. Richmond, who give away points like anything, and then Carlton back at Marvel. So if you're worried about like losing points by getting rid of Neil, if you don't have McRae, as you've said, Dunkley, or even the Bont, they are 3 options you should be seriously considering.
Yep. So here's the sick part, right? So if I actually, and this is the only reason I'm considering it, and I still kind of hate it, Lockie Neil to Ridley, right? Caldwell to Walker, and I've got 379,000 in my bank.
The problem is that the $379,000 in your bank not doing anything for your team.
Correct.
But it's only a week. It's not the worst problem to have.
You would have to definitely get that using that the following week, unless you skipped on, say, a Ridley one week and you were really confident on a Butters or somebody who had even a bigger price spike.
True. Ridley's only tipped to go up like 20K, I think, so it's not the worst.
So you can hold a week, but if you really wanted, say, a Butters or you wanted somebody like that, otherwise you need to have already got a plan for that 339K or whatever you said it was, be it a Dow or someone like that, and already know who you are targeting the week after. Because it's useless if you have to then burn another trade just to get up to somebody.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the only reason. Like Tex is realistically, I should be going Ridley and Dusty because they're 2 I don't have. And then I feel like Dusty's, he's highly owned, so it's kind of one of those ones. Do I wait or do you kind of just want to narrow that margin and just get him in because he looks really good? Not gonna lie.
Yeah, but I mean, look, they've played, Carlton and Hawthorn? Okay. Both of those teams are going 0-6, so cool, man.
Hey,
seriously,
Chris,
if Carlton don't win this week, and they won't because Freo are looking bloody good, they are going to go 0-6.
Chris,
have a look at who they're playing over the next 6 weeks.
Chris, who did Hawks play in round 1?
Oh no, they're shit. Who did they play?
Essendon.
Oh yeah, well they're also going 0-6. So after Freo,
Hawks won.
They've got
Hawks beat Essendon, and you're saying Hawks are going 0-6. Do you even know the fucking game?
Oh no, I was talking about Essendon.
Segue.
So yeah, they've got the Suns and the Gold Coast, who by the way are also playing very good football.
Chris, shut
then
up.
They've got Port. Then they've got Brisbane.
Yes,
Well,
It's going to be the battle for the spoon against Essendon in round 7.
Chris, shut the fuck up. We're trying to listen to Swizz. We have our guest speaker with better insight than you. Let him speak.
Well, and as I was saying before, just about the Dogs, and that, well, you've got to think overall and league, depending on what you play. At the moment, as I said, 6%, which is going to be higher, have traded out Neil. Macrae, 29% have, 22% Oliver, and already they've gone up 2%. You think they're going to probably go up more. If it's Neil loses another 10 to 20%, and these guys go up 3, 4, 5%, that's points you are losing if Neil goes another 70, 80, where Macrae could be continuing his 130 form for at least the next 3, 4 weeks against these teams that are coming up.
Yep, you might as well go to the casino, put it on red, spin the wheel, and hope. Like if Neil starts going big, all the people are coming out of the woodworks going, I'm a fucking genius, you guys are nuffies. And if Neil gets tagged 2 weeks running or 3 weeks, because I think they have Carlton after that, so his 3-round average could be shit as well. If Neil drops down to like 500, everyone's getting him anyway. And then you're the guy that paid $220,000 more than everyone else got him for. So yeah, it's going to work both ways.
Where's the risk then? Because if you've got, as long as you're going to Macrae or Oliver, especially Macrae, like Neil comes out, let's just say he freaks it against Collingwood and still scores at 120, 130. Macrae's going 130 against North. There's no doubt about that. Next week at Ballarat, I think Macrae's Ballarat average is 160. So
his Brisbane average is about 150. Have you seen how well Macrae's gone against Brisbane for like the last 4 years?
Exactly. So he's got 150 average against Brisbane and 160 average at Ballarat the following week. So you can put Macrae down minimum 140. So even if, once again, Neil comes out against the Dogs and scores 120, 130, you're still 10, 20 points behind those people who traded to Macrae.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And they banked an extra, a little bit of money there too. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, and
the more I talk about it, I'm sold on trading Neil.
I made the trade. Look, lockout happened and I made the trades. The other thing was what it does for your team, like because I have Caldwell, I already went Danger to Walsh, so I had a little bit of cash there. Plus, with that money that I've gone down from Titch, I already have Macrae. By going down to Titch, it allows me to get Ridley from Caldwell. So I now have 13 premiums instead of 12, which is improving my team as well as. So even though it's a correction trade and some will consider it sideways, it is actually an upgrade for me. So I'm actually improving my team. So I don't consider it as a correctional or a sideways trade or a waste of a trade. I consider it as I'm downgrading to upgrade and to have a better overall team.
Yep. And for me, it's the consideration of do I want, Ridley and Dusty or Ridley and I could actually afford him actually. So Ridley and Oliver, or do I want Neil and like Tex Walker?
I like Oliver, I really do, but I just feel like.
I still feel like he's a butcher, and he had 37 touches and sure did well, but you saw, so Titch had a lot of possessions and only did well late because he got some intercept marks in defense and, linked up in a few chains. He wasn't doing well. Titch was not doing well. He had 20 disposals for fuck all. So
yeah, he didn't play well, I'll be honest with that.
No, so, Oliver worries me in that he gets a lot of ball and handballs it a lot. Whereas the kickers, Macrae, the guys that link up, that's why Josh Kelly should be doing better. #rant.
This is a conversation that maybe it's not for this podcast, but is Oliver really 120 plus premium?
115 to 120 maybe.
Well, that's what I think that he's probably a one. I reckon that 110 to 115 is smack on. That's what he's going to average every single season or around thereabouts.
Inflated by his plus or minus on the big games that he always gets. If he doesn't go
He
the
gets
180,
those 1 or 2 huge games a season.
yeah, which pushes his average.
Yeah.
If you get on at the right time, you're a genius.
What do you think about the Bont guys now that you've seen a couple of games of him?
I'm in
The
love.
tag liability. That's the only thing that's wrong with him, is that when people tag a Bulldogs midfielder, it has to be Bont.
But
That's it.
it's, you look at the game now, more time, more space, faster movement, the better players. Look, he looks so good.
It's like 100 at halftime. And he got shut down in the third quarter, and then they released the tag in the last for him to get those last few points. I think he had only 5 possessions from halftime.
I'm actually waiting for him to get tagged and have a shit game like he will, and then wait for his price to drop and jump on. I'm not jumping now.
The
I
problem
think it's a
is,
good option. I just think that, like, if you're going to tag someone at the Dogs, you're going to tag Bont. And then what happens is they send him forward, and then he doesn't score as well as a forward. Obviously, he still scored. Like, he kicked obviously the sealer last week, which obviously again inflated his score. But yeah, he was on 100 at halftime, and he actually killed that game. They shut him down, and then did nothing for a while, and then came back. So I just feel that the tag liability for Bont is too high for me to, at this stage of the season, take a risk on him. I'd definitely rather have McRae. I'd definitely rather have Dunkley.
Yep. All right, so moving on from there, let's go to the Cripps train now. Cripps, information is he's getting injections weekly. He should, if it was preseason or end of the year, end of the season, he would have 4 to 6 weeks off, they said. Inside information hasn't been confirmed, obviously, but he's playing through pain. So if you have Cripps, is that a bigger danger now? The fact that he has gone, what is he averaging, 85? Something horrible.
The problem is where you go to.
Yeah, he's not it's funny. And what I laugh at is people that went from Real to Taranto, aka suck shit. If you already had Taranto, no fault there, Chris, because you started him. But if you 520,
great at quarter time. He had 4 tackles and 10 possessions at quarter time, and he used the ball like shit. But I mean, I think he only touched the ball once in the second quarter, and then like barely any in the third, and then came back in the last quarter. But yeah, it was bad. It was a bad game.
Here's my perspective. Now, if you have Cripps in the midfield, chances are you have a forward mid rookie in the forward line like Campbell, or you have Clark in defence with that defender mid eligibility. I would be getting rid of Cripps and getting Ridley or Dusty, someone you don't have, for 20k more.
If you've got the 20k.
If you have the 20k, which they should, hopefully. That's what I would do.
Like you might have to do other trades in that place. You might have to do a correctional rookie trade, or there could be other things you need to do that are a higher priority.
Is it urgent?
It important to get rid of him? Is he going to drop much cash?
I think he'll drop a bit, hey. But is he going to pull it back together when he gets over his issue? Yeah, who knows?
Well, here's the thing. Did we know about this? I've been asking people about it.
Nothing. Nothing was spoken.
The AIM game that he was carrying an ankle injury. He said it in the post-match. So I don't know. Is this the same? Is that where he's getting the injections, or is it a different injury completely?
It could be. It could be pain in his ankle, which is why he's playing more forward. I don't know. We don't know anything. It's like the GWS theory.
You're only going to lose 20k roughly with Cripps this week, but I'm big on the trade. Not for Supercoach, just for Carlton. They should have traded him to Freo.
Hey, there's still time. There's still time.
But no, he's not going to cost you that much. That's just the one. If you want, kind of maybe side to Brayshaw, but I'm not a huge fan of. I love Brayshaw and I really like him on side, but. Yeah, how many times you like side swap there? Maybe if that's that Dusty or Dunkley one, if you've got the cash, definitely or the Ridley, if you can loophole it, because you are then looking at getting a top 6 defender or forward for Cripps. And I think that's the move if you're willing to move on Cripps.
And if you have all the rookies in line and you don't have injuries and you have that spare, because if you haven't had Danger, you don't have Caldwell, then you could actually be in a position to use that trade tactically and not be at a disadvantage on trades. If you've caught, Real, Danger, and Caldwell, well, good luck to you in 2022. Go fuck yourself. Salvage what you can. Say you're playing for leagues the whole year. Fix it that way. Let's move on now. So Cripps, kind of a consensus there. It's a tough spot to be in, to be honest. So depends on your team. If you've already been hit by injuries, then good luck and enjoy Cripps for the year. Hopefully he comes together. Breakout premiums is the last one. Now, I know these boys have got some of probably the more obvious ones. Now, I'm going to come up with something slightly different for a breakout contender. Is he a must-have? No. If you're playing for leagues and you want something out of the box, then I suggest you might want to look at a Gold Coast defender. Who am I thinking of, boys?
Boze. He looks fantastic.
Nah, fuck Boze. Boze is good.
Oh,
Lukosius. Now, Lukosius is playing on the wing, which in my draft write-up is why I said the Russian could be his back flank. So,
was it Markov?
Markov, yeah. So Markov was playing back flank. Lukosius was playing on the wing. And they just keep giving. Like, Lukosius' kick is stupidly good. I think he's, what do you get, a 115 and a 105 or something? He's averaging really well. He's 420K, I believe. Nice little smoky.
430 averaging 106.
So 430, was it?
430 and he's averaging 106.
430 averaging 106, yeah. So for me, he's a smoky. Like, he's not a must-have. If you're in a draft league where you want something a bit, a standard league, you want something a bit different. I don't know. I just think his kicking is so good. Gold Coast are actually looking for opportunities to link him up. They're trying to play fast. They actually look pretty good. Once they get to that wing, he looks so good at actually delivering it. Either he pushes forward and then delivers that next chain closer to goal, or he's actually hitting him inside 50. And he's I forgot how good his kick is, hey. Like, I actually shared a link on Twitter today. I was like, what a fucking jet.
And they have Adelaide, Carlton, and then the Bulldogs coming up next. And I want to, this is also leads into the guy I want to talk about, which is Jack Boze, who's averaging more for only 30K less, like whatever.
Chump change.
So yeah, Jack Boze is averaging 130 over his 2 games. He had a 114 and like a 145 or something ridiculous, and he's just cleaning up across that half back line. So the obviously pushing Lukosius forward has meant that Jack Boze has stepped into that more intercepting defender role. That is also the distributor of half back now. The great thing about the Bulldogs, which is why I wanted to highlight this, is I really noticed against the Eagles that what they did is to try and negate Hearn's long kicking. They set their zone back further so that Hearn just couldn't try and go over the back of the zone. He would have to try and pick his way through it instead. And that meant that Hearn just got his own pill. And the defenders from West Coast scored really well because of it. So if the Bulldogs are going to continue to set this really deep zone, defenders are going to score really well against them. So anyone that's got the Bulldogs coming up, I think it's at North Melbourne this week. So hopefully Zeeble gets up off his ankle, because I think we'll all have a really nice score from Jack Zeeble this week.
You know what's upsetting is that in our keeper league, do you know who my 13th player was? Boze. I could have kept him for free with defender status, and I was like, do I want to keep a defender just getting me like 85? And I dropped him in a keeper league.
Ooh, tough scenes.
Yeah, right. Someone else got him. Enjoy that pain. Okay.
Yes, I think he's definitely a standard option. I mean, the problem is he's 450K, so it's not like he's cheap. But I don't think he's very risky. I think he's definitely one that could easily make top 10 this season based on the exposed form so far. So
yeah, interesting. Swizz, you want to talk about Brayshaw?
Oh, mate, I have a lot of love for Brayshaw, and I could speak all night about him. But as I said, it's the same as I said last week. He's just taken over that number one midfield role at Freo. Probably handles a little bit too much than what I'd like, but got the all-round game. He's racking up possessions, taking marks, tackling, 6 tackles on the weekend, helped kicking a couple of goals. But yeah, he's just the ball in there, but he's also got the ability to go outside. They swap up with Mundy, Chera, and now with Fife looking like he's going to miss at least 1 week. And that, if you're going to jump on, it's got to be now, because a couple soft kills still to come for Freo, and he could go have some more big, massive games coming up.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. The one thing I will touch on as well is I think we underestimate how important these fitter players are going to play a role this year, because they interviewed Isaac Smith after the Geelong, demolition of Brisbane, unfortunately, for the false reading from the umpire. We won't go there again. But they interviewed Isaac Smith, and they just said, oh, hey, surely someone like you will flourish with, faster game, less interchange, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, it's tough. You know what I mean? And the worst and the hardest thing now is going to be on the shorter game breaks. Now, if it's going to be the guys that are running more and are fitter than everyone else, if you get less time to recover from these less rotations and more running and faster movement, it's going to be harder for other guys, the bigger boys that aren't used to running as much, aren't used to playing as much time on ground, to actually keep it up. And Chris knows all about how hard it is to keep it up. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Well, that is one concern for those who, just touching back on, say, an Impey, or those players who have had those little injury concerns. Have a good look at the fixture, because someone like Hawthorn plays Monday afternoon this week, then travels to Perth to play Sunday the following week. So 6-day break and travelling. So there's going to be a little bit of that as the season wears on. Those players who, as you said, do struggle to back up or not as fit as others, will definitely struggle later in the year.
Yeah, I worry for Brisbane on a 6-day break, and they're now realising what all other clubs had to do last year and sleep in a bed that wasn't theirs and have to play for a couple of weeks in a row. So it'll be interesting to see what the Brisbane Lions will do.
That's true. Well, one that obviously hit a huge score this week that I just wanted to quickly touch on is Zach Butters. So I think everyone can agree that when he's on the ball, like, he does some freakish things and it's amazing. What hasn't happened yet, which is kind of weird, but I think he had a 95 week one and then a 163 this week. He's still not getting CBAs, so he's doing it all from a wing and high half forward. Now, there is a chance that potentially with Rosie coming back this week, that could push him more into that midfield and maybe get some CBAs moving forward, which could actually increase his average. My problem is they've done it against North, and who'd they play?
Essendon. The other
Essendon.
Yeah.
And Essendon.
This has got Connor Rosie last year written all over it. You could remind us, Chris, because you were on Rosie last year.
I went big. Go hard or go home, right? So I'm worried actually about the Butters selection in terms of if you started with him, great. You've already got those 2 good scores. You're sitting pretty. At very least, it's going to make you a little bit of cash. And I think he probably still averages 95 for the season, including this 160. I just don't see him really being that sort of uber premium that's going to be like a top 6 forward. I think he's still in that potential to make that top 10, depending on how everyone else goes. I wouldn't be banking on him to be a guaranteed top 6.
They play West Coast away, Richmond, the following week. So that's, unfortunately, you can't really get a look at him because he's going to have a big spike this week. But that's going to give us a better indication of how he's going to go for the rest of the year.
Absolutely. One you can wait on. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and I don't know, he's funny for me because I know he's talented and I have rated him previously, but I don't know, something doesn't feel right to me where I just don't rate him enough to put him in my side. Now, is that a Rampy situation? Is that a Rowan Marshall situation? I don't know, but I am not putting him in my side yet.
I'm not doing that.
A Dan Houston situation. I wonder who started with him.
You by default. You can send
two greatest words in the English language, default.
Yeah, make sure you send a box of chocolates to fucking McDonald's just for him staying out of your side.
I will. That was a nice little surprise on Saturday night when I was looking at the score, and I actually was getting DMs from some of our followers being like, "Dude, do you still have Houston? Tell me you didn't trade Houston." And I'm like, no.
"Well, Swizz."
And then I looked at the score and I was like, "Oh my god."
Swizz has made you famous, and all his mates at the footy are like, "Hey, did that Chris guy still keep Houston?" And he's like, "Yes, he did."
We're watching a cricket grand final, and that's all. That was the topic of conversation from some guys on that. So yeah, for that decision has kind of made you a bit famous down here, Chris.
You're welcome, lads. Oh, work. Oh, yeah.
Looks like Chris is trying to flex, but I think Casper's out and about. Anyway,
I think probably the only thing really left to go is maybe a couple of waiver ideas and then vice captains.
I'm going to put a post out for waivers because I'm going to look through all my leagues and look for those who there. But again, I did tell everyone about Markov. Just for he kicks a lot. He's on the back flank, so he was one that I put out. But I'll do another little post, waiver watch on Facebook and Twitter. So if you're not on the line, I suggest you get up and get about. Let's go for the captains.
I was going to say, I think you've already mentioned Peter Wright. But that was the big one this week, and that because he will be ruck and he's still there. I guess if you really like what CJ did, but as a 2, 3, 4 week option as a possible, because I know he was lying around a few drafts as well.
Do you think Golden's good enough to the Golden Jet to last in your side for drafts? Do you reckon he's like after 2 good scores, you'd be stupid not to try and grab him?
I think he's already gone in nearly all leagues.
Oh, I think Miney's still free. I think everyone kind of disregarded his first score. Yeah, now he'll have to be gone.
No, not now, League. Matty Davison picked him up.
Okay, that one, all right.
Yeah, unlucky.
Oh, well. Well, it's one of those ones. If you're low, take the highest scorers and you hope that, like with a Ridley I got last year because he looked good, so I grabbed him, and then next minute you've got yourself a top 10 or a really good performer.
Fair enough.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what do we think of a VC and C, boys? Because I think that's probably where we wrap it up. But are we all locking in a VC of Grundy against potentially Fullerton on Thursday night?
Yeah, I wasn't originally because I really like McRae versus North Melbourne. But, yeah, now that Brisbane off like a 4-day break where they've had to go out and buy their own clothes today because they had none. And, yeah, this has got Rich and Grundy going, well, as long as he mentally rocks up, he should go massive again.
He should. He had a bit of a sniffle this week. Don't think that's going to be an issue for Grundy. I don't know. I'm torn, to be honest, because I could go Grundy into probably McRae. Part of me thinks that I wouldn't mind VCing Dunkley this week. VC Dunkley into Gawn and just high ceiling, fucking go for it.
Yeah, I don't mind that one either. I think that's going to be either Grundy or one of those 3 Bulldogs, McRae, Bont, or Dunkley.
I'd feel more comfortable captaining McRae because Dunkley could go anywhere from 70 to 170, whereas McRae is generally a 120 to a 170 kind of guy. So, Chris, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I'm in 2 minds. I definitely think the C has to be on Gawn because it is obviously going against Flynn. So regardless, I think your C has to be there. So then it's, okay, well, where's your VC? So you've either got to go your Grundy or one of the dogs. The other sneaky one that you might want to try, which you'll be able to see on Saturday afternoon, I don't mind Jake Lloyd against Richmond.
I was about to say the same thing, Chris. Speak about this, mate.
That could be a massive game for Jake Lloyd. I love when he goes a good 160. And against that, Rich, they're just leaking those points to the defenders, as we mentioned earlier. I don't mind that if you want to be unique. But I think most people are going to go with the Grundy option. Therefore, you might be hamstrung into just taking it regardless. However, if the Big O gets up for that game and he's named, I won't be doing it. I'll be going McRae.
Yeah, it's same.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I don't know. Part of me, I'm thinking Dunkley's going to go massive. I don't know.
I look, it could, but do you want to not be on McRae when everyone else is?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. You know what? I'm big on McRae too. It's, again, if I went Grundy, I'm even inclined to go Grundy into McRae as a captain option, just straight up. So, I don't know.
That's another option, but I just don't know how you can go past Gawn and Flynn.
Yeah, well, Gawn also had, was it Meekie in his first round and didn't do great. So, and Gawn was only on bugger all in the first half in the last game. Gawn is lucky. His second half, he actually showed up and went from 40 to like 130 odd in a half. He went absolutely huge in the second half. So it's,
that's true.
He was good. He got back for some intercepts and started to do some Gawn of old things. Is it going to continue? It's an interesting one. And but I guess GWS are shit, so anything could happen.
Yeah, well, McRae's already played Collingwood and West Coast, and he's had 35 and 41 touches.
Yeah, fair call. I don't know. Don't you think North Melbourne, you get a guy who tackles, plays centre, and gets forward to like kick goals and stuff. Like Dunkley could go 180. He honestly could.
Here's what we saw though on the weekend, and why I'm not really overly in love with doing VC on a Dogs player is that the point squeeze happened. Definitely 100% happened against West Coast to the point where like McRae got the last clearance of the game and he got like 2 points for it. Like the most important, crucial clearance to make sure that the score doesn't go up the other end. McRae gets the clearance and got 2 points. Like, are you kidding me? Like, there was no scaling that happened in that last quarter in terms of big acts that actually influenced the winning of the game. The last goal to Bont only got him like 7 points. Like,
Yeah, they were tapped out.
There were just not enough points left. And that's with Daniel having like 26 disposals and getting 20 and 67 points or something because he was
loving
incredible.
that. Loving that, by the way, Daniel.
The only thing I'll say against that, but is Bulldogs, because of how close the game was, only had 1,768 total points this week.
Yes.
I feel like it's 1,900. It's going to be 1,900 or 2,000 points. Like the Suns this week against North had 1,929 Supercoach.
Oh, wow. Yep, get on all the dogs.
Yep. Well, I like it as an option.
It'll be a mauling just like the Aussie Outback. Dogs on kangas.
The thing is, if I was going to take a VC, I'd do it on a dog. I wouldn't. I'm not sure if I'd do the straight captain. So it's probably dependent on whether or not For me, it's dependent on whether or not Big O gets up as to whether I go Grundy, and if not, then I'll be going McRae as a VC. But I won't be captaining McRae. I'll be captaining Gawn if it's the case.
I think only if you don't have Gawn, everyone should have the C on Gawn for now. That playing Flynn. It's probably going to be wet again up there, and I'm pretty sure Gawn down to Oliver and Petrarca, they're just going to have a field day against the Giants at the moment.
Yeah, agreed.
True. I think, Grundy, McRae, and Gawn, any one of those two, I think you'll be pretty happy with. So I think that wraps us up, boys. That's a nice, comprehensive one. Definitely a lot of insight into those rookies. Swizz, mate, thank you very much for your time again. And look, you've been kind of a little bit famous, to be honest, and we really appreciate your insight. I'm sure a lot of listeners have as well. This is probably one of the hardest weeks because prices haven't changed yet, which means that it's not too late, right? It's like your ex-girlfriend's going at the altar and you can always go and interrupt that shit. So it's not too late yet. It's not over till it's over. It could be worse. You could be Essendon with no depth on your list like we spoke about in the preseason. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe Parrish will get a midfield gig finally.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Final thoughts.
I feel like Swizz's theme song should be famous by Kanye West.
How does it go, Chris?
Mate, it's always from We Are From Tigerland.
Come on, you've been singing that enough lately.
There's still time for more.
Jesus. Hey, Chris wouldn't know anything about that. They've won, one premiership in how long, Chris? How was that, 02, 03?
2010, bro, which was 7 years after your last premiership, so shut the fuck up.
I'm trying to pleasure you. Shut the fuck up. Pleasure away, Richard. Write that down.
Good work, guys. So if I got a final thought, just go with your gut. And we said it last week. If there's players that you weren't even considering pre-season, outside probably Tex and that, go back your pre-season research. And also, if there's a player you enjoy watching and you're going 50-50, go with the player you enjoy watching. It makes footy so much more enjoyable.
Yeah,
like Sam Walsh, right?
Yeah, that's why I went Sam Walsh, to be honest, Chris. He's good to watch. And I agree with that too. There's nothing worse. If a guy that you like to watch has a bad week, you're kind of like, oh, that's okay. You'll get him next week. Whereas if it's someone you hate and you're like, where the fuck were you? I was relying on you, you bastard. You're out of my side. And it's the same thing with footy. Yeah, get people you like. And again, I'll follow up with that with, back your gut, because even the Elon Musks and all of the Microsoft and the Amazons, everyone told them that they were crazy and they backed their gut in. And it's the same with this. People will tell you your side's shit. Oh, you're too weak here. You're too weak there. We'll probably give you advice to the same effect, right? But if you back yourself in, if it comes out right in the way you thought, then you're a genius. And if not, then you move on and you're like Donald Trump and go bankrupt for the third time in a row, right? Just back yourself in.
Sure.
I love it.
Chris is like, did he just say no point listening to us? Just back yourself and fuck off.
I wasn't listening to you then, so.
Oh, right. It's all right. I stopped listening to you after I stopped speaking, Chris. All right, that wraps us up here, Swizz. Thank you very much for your commentary, your insight, and your lovely politeness. It's a nice change.
No problem. No problem, boys, for that. You guys look after yourselves up north. We know all about that. So, stay safe and you'll get through your mini lockdown.
I forgot about that. Literally, I'm going to have puns to myself for days. That's how boring my life will be. Chris, you good?
I'm good, mate. We'll catch everybody later, and we'll see you after the lockdown.
Sounds good. How blessed are we, though, to have this system with the microphone and to be able to call people and record? I'm so glad we got this new system because last year we were just like, fuck this, we're not recording.
This is true.
It's true. All right, keep up the questions on the line. If we missed some of those topics on your questions on Twitter or Facebook, we'll respond to that. And I better go do these waiver wire. So I'll catch you later, guys.
Catch you later, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, boys.
Bye. I get the last word, Swizz.
I always get the last word.
All right, catch you later, everyone. Bye. Bye.